could we even get open? We're out of money. Construction people are walking off the job. Like living in a European guy's house in like the woods. If you want to create brand fanatics, they have to come a lot. Like Karate Kid, but for saunas. And we look at dropping a new class, like dropping an album.
Today, we are graced with the presence of Robbie Bent, who is the co-founder and I guess cult leader behind Othership. Robbie has a long history of building with teams like Ethereum and has kind of revolutionized the bathhouse space in New York over the last few years, and Toronto as well. So thank you, Robbie.
Thanks for joining us, Robbie. What made you want to become a cult leader? Yes, that's the reaction.
I think I just really wanted to create emotional experiences for people, like the feeling of when you see somebody having a peak experience, like there's nothing like it. And so, you know, the first thing that comes to mind is these psychedelic medicine experiences post, they have the group shares. And when I started doing this stuff about 8 years ago, that was really new for me. Wow. And what I realized is like people don't share real emotions in daily life. Like to see somebody being human, it's almost impossible. And so I think it's important to have in every life, the reality is there's like a ton of unpleasant moments. And so I think like honoring those and like giving space to feel those is like really powerful. So I think, yeah, just creating space where you can like deeply feel is like very, very interesting. And it's fun to try to set a tapestry that's going to get that out of people.
Do you remember the first time someone created a space like that for you? Was this one of those psychedelic trips, or was this like in your childhood? I'm just so curious because obviously this had such a profound impact on you.
So yeah, I was in Israel. I didn't speak Hebrew. I'm not Jewish. I was just like, what the fuck am I doing here? You know, like sometimes like I had no friends, so I had to start from scratch. And so I lived there for about a year. And that's where I did the Vipassana. And that led to psychedelic medicines. So somebody on that retreat was just like, hey, do you want to come try LSD like on this campus of this school at like 6 a.m. I never really experimented with like real psychedelics before. So I went, drove up in darkness. We went into the woods and like took acid and like just in the woods with these people that didn't really speak English. And that was like interesting, but not like life changing.
Right. You didn't hit that connective piece.
No, it was just like an interesting time, but it wasn't like, wow, this changed my life. Yeah. And so through that, learned about ayahuasca, went to Peru with the intention of like, hey, I want to quit drug use. Through that, it was very challenging times, 4 ceremonies. It was really hard for me. I'm like very scared of psychedelics. I'm not like, fucking let's go.
Whoa, like, I wouldn't have guessed that based on...
Yeah, I actually hate them. And so, yeah, like I really, like if we were going to like take LSD together, I'd have to like go put on a blindfold and like sit in another room.
Wait,
like,
can you tell me why? I'm actually
It just starts to make me feel very uncomfortable. Like all these things start coming up, all my thought patterns, and I start being like, you know, are they going to like me? Am I supposed to say something? I start feeling really weird.
It's more medicine for you. It's not like a fun thing. No. It's used as medicine.
Yeah, exactly. So I can't, like I could never, if you, like my nightmare would be like, if you're like, hey, let's go to concert tonight and take like 5 grams of shrooms, I'd be like, no, like I'm not going to do it. So I'll have to do it like alone now or in a group with like a blindfold, and I know I can just like have a mental breakdown on my own. But they're very beneficial for me, but I don't like them. Yep. And some people, I always look and people love them. I'm like, is there something wrong with me? Is that like there's something wrong with my personality? I can't do them right. And so, but I've had so I went and did this ayahuasca. It was really hard. It was like feeling like something like this drug addiction was like ripped out of my soul. Whoa. And after that, I was like, okay, I'm never going to drink again, and I haven't. And so that's like 8-9 years ago.
Did you have any other sort of program like AA or anything else that you relied on?
I tried Cocaine Anonymous, and I went there, and it wasn't like, I went, and it was like in the basement of a church, and I remember one person was like, yeah, I was pregnant, I was smoking crack in the hospital, and then I felt like it came my turn to share, and I was like, yeah, I like did some lines of coke, like, am I supposed to even be here? Like,
you felt like an imposter.
I felt like I'm not a hardcore addict enough, and like I still kind of feel like I wasn't, but it was like ruining my life and was unhealthy, and I almost
bizarre,
died.
Like not enough of an addict. Like there's no real place. Interesting.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. And then I felt also like when I went there was something wrong with me. So what worked for me was just psychedelics and then bathhouses, and that's like.
How did you first discover bathhouses?
So I came back from this psychedelic experience. I was like talking to my wife on Instagram while I was traveling. And
wait, like were you married at this point? Or?
No, I didn't even like really know her. We're like friends. We'd sat together. Our friends sat together at a wedding. She posted something on Instagram. I kind of like chirped it, and we just started talking. It was like a...
Oh, that's very sweet.
She's a master's in science, nutritionist, like really into health. And she was just like, hey, I've been listening to Rhonda Patrick. I've heard about these ice baths. We should try it. Like it feels like I know you don't drink. We should do this thing. So we Google searched found this place, Southwestern Bathhouse, on the outskirts of Toronto. Drove all the way out there, traditional Russian bathhouse. Ice bath, no phone, sauna, amazing time because you're kind of like, it doesn't really matter what you wear. You're in a bathing suit, and then you're not on your phone, and then like the neurochemicals in your brain,
Right.
you don't feel insecure, you don't feel any worry. It's not like, oh, what am I going to say? And so that became part of our routine every single week.
Wow.
So
Every week?
Yeah, for like 4 years. And before COVID, we built in my backyard. We were like, oh, well, we should just build a healthy community. And I was ice bathing all the time. So we built an ice bath by hand in my backyard, the 5 of us. And every night we would one of us would be out there, towels for free. And you could just drop in and
That's awesome.
use the ice bath. It was free. And there was like a WhatsApp chat. So like WhatsApp is like a big part of our brand and company. And so
I was going to say, do you get kickbacks for this? Because you've mentioned
every city we go in, we set up like a way to talk to the community, have people
Wow.
talk to each other and like create friendships. I think that's like really important in brand building.
Absolutely.
No, I feel like you guys like started with community and friendship at the core of it.
Exactly. So it wasn't really ever a bathhouse product. It was more
Yeah.
like, how do you make people make friends? And it just happens Bathhouse is a good platform.
It was
for
always more of a
doing that.
clubhouse than like a transactional
it
experience.
facilitates
Exactly.
the end product, which is the relationships.
Exactly. And then so we were doing that.
So
and-
you're in your backyard in like a homemade ice cold plug.
yeah, and it grew to 300 people in the summer, and people are just dropping in. And so in the WhatsApp, you could be like, "Oh, I'm going to 4 p.m. Who wants to go?" And people are there, and there's like coffee, and there's towels, and there's a fire going, and like for me, I was like back in Toronto, worried about getting back into drugs. Didn't really have any friends. All my friends live in San Francisco and Berlin, so it was like a different crew.
Mm-hmm.
And I was like, "Oh, I'd love to meet some people that are into this stuff." And I was just like, "Hey, maybe we'll meet some good friends from this, and like maybe we'll also test if people want it." And so we did that. It grew. Winter comes, too cold. So we looked at, I was renting a house and it had like a woodworking space in the garage that was unused. So just like a whole bunch of like junk in this like 3-car garage.
Okay.
And I asked the owner like, hey, can we like rent that and like do something with it? And she was like, yeah. Like I was like, okay, well, we don't have a permit. It's just like, I don't care. So we did put a sauna, ice bath, and like a tea room that we built by hand. And we're
That's
like, okay,
amazing.
well, if it's just for us, like fucking awesome.
Right.
So we did that. We opened. And that grew to 1,000 members just through word of mouth. So every day, like 50, 60 people are coming in.
Wow.
And it was in that space that we realized like we don't actually want to do a bathhouse. We want to do something more spectacular. And so we started bringing in Landmark and Hoffman and Breathwork and Psychedelic like sharing.
Yeah, you built programming specifically for
Exactly. And at first it was just like, oh, you'd come and be like, oh, ice bath, inflammation,
Yeah.
white blood cells. And then people are like, great, it's healthy. I get it. So like, what do I do here? And so like our
it. There was
first
no like ritual around
yeah,
it.
well, our first intro, there was some ritual. It was like setting an intention. Again, it was
Okay.
like 15 minutes long. And so
Okay.
now we're like, hey, like people don't want the attention span. But we'd have you like, when we got in, we started doing stuff like Harry would have his essential oils from a sauna training and be like, oh, I wonder if we pour them on your hands and you smell them, like what happens? Then,
So
like,
it was a lot of experimentation.
I was gonna
It's
say,
very
it's like there was
fluid.
no idea that classes were even a thing at
Seriously.
this point. Like it
So this
wasn't-
was all like trial and error.
yeah, just what happened one day. There was a Valentine's Day, and Harry was like, "Oh, let's do like a triple date." And so some friends came over. It was us, and he was like, "Oh, let's go in the cold plunge together as a couple." And we're like, "Cold plunge together? Like, what? Is that that's like a thing you can do?" So we'd go like together and like eye gaze with the partner,
Yeah.
like really
Whoa.
deep. And then after the eye gaze, like a melting hug, sinking your breath. And then we went in the sauna and we do like a guided massage. So 2 minutes, you would massage your partner. And then everyone would share their first date story. And then everyone would share like the best moment in their relationship. And then everyone
sweet.
starts crying. And we're like,
Right.
whoa, what the fuck's happening here? Like, this is crazy. Like, this is like pretty deep emotional stuff from just sauna ice bath. And so, okay, that's cool. Then like next week, I had a bunch of guys over and we tried this thing called the Desert Storm. And so it was like,
What? So the exact opposite.
so it was like how hard can you push yourself in the sauna? So it was 20-minute saunas back to back with like each one getting hotter. And the third one was in the complete darkness. And so then when it was in the darkness, we were like, okay, let's like sweat lodge style, like I'd done temescals before. So it's like, let's do share, like what are you struggling with? And so first person shares, next person shares, and then I'm like, let's like scream it out. So we're just screaming in the dark, which has like now become part
We
of
were
some
too
of our-
nice
Yeah.
last week. We got to be
Alright.
screaming this week.
Yeah, but I saw that like the guys there with my friends from finance and like, like one of them was crying and he's like, I'm feeling like I'm missing out on being with my daughter. And I was just like, okay, that's crazy to hear this in this context. And then we'd go from the sauna, these 3 triple saunas, you're like crawling out into an ice bath in the dark with like a giant scream. And so then that was so popular that we're like, well, there's like, you can really do interesting stuff in this modality.
People want the ritual.
Exactly.
Yeah.
And then it became like, okay, it's not even a sauna ice bath space. It's more of like a space to do ritual where these elements turn something in your brain that you're even open to it. Because if I said to you, hey, like drive across town and like do a loving kindness meditation with an eye gaze with a stranger, you're like, I'll never fucking do that ever in my life.
No, I would never go sit in the conference center to like.
Exactly.
No.
So
it's the issue with Landmark and all these courses.
So you need to switch your state to
Yeah.
get people into a more emotional way of being. And so that was like an earned secret that just came from like fucking around in the garage. So when we did that, we're like, oh, well, maybe it's not a bathhouse. Maybe it's like a nicer version of this that's classes. And then in Toronto, one of my friends, my partners, he was like, oh, I want to build a bathhouse like Southwest that we always go to. But it was just a bathhouse. There wasn't like really anything special about it. It was just like, oh, and I thought, oh, this could be a cool side project. If you talk about like synchronicities, my aunt is a designer and we're like, oh, we think we're going to do this bathhouse. And she's like, oh, so weird. My friends' kids have hired me to build a bathhouse also. And I was like, what? And so we ended up going for coffee, and Harry and Amanda had just done a retreat that week. We didn't know each other. And so we go for a coffee, and they just were like really open, and we just immediately like both felt it, and we're like, yeah, let's do it together.
Yeah.
That's
and
amazing.
so then we spent like a year and a half researching bathhouses. So Harry and Amanda lived in Europe and were like trained sauna masters. And then between the
What
five
does
of
that
us,
process look like? Sorry, actually, I don't
it's
know.
like living in a European guy's house in like the woods, and like it's like the Karate
do
Kid.
Because I
It's
mean,
the-
so much of what happens is so choreographed that I was curious if there's what the art to
it's
that is.
it's the like Karate Kid, but for saunas, and like you're living in the chopping the wood in the forest to like make the
That's
Venic, and so
incredible.
it's making Venic, it's the art of towel waving, it's essential oils and aromatherapy.
Oh my
And some
God.
other treatments. It's like spa and steam treatments. So they did that for, I don't know, 6 months, something like that.
Mm-hmm.
And we'd all been like obsessed with bathing in bathhouses.
Yeah.
And so we spent a whole bunch of time trying to figure out a mega space, like 13,000 square feet.
You knew you wanted to be
that's
that large
wild.
out the gate.
Yeah, because we were just like, oh, it's a bathhouse. And that's like kind
Yeah,
of
yeah,
how big
yeah,
they
yeah.
are.
Like-
And we're like, oh, it's going to have the sauna, pool, all this stuff.
Yeah. Hot tub.
Yeah,
whatever, yeah.
exactly. So we got into that, and then I was like, shit, we thought it was going to cost like $2.5 million.
That's
Because
cute.
that's what a construction guy told us. And so we're
man.
like, he's like, I can build it for this, no problem. So we almost signed a lease. We came to Bathhouse in New York, met with those guys, and they're like, you need to go bigger. So we delayed signing the lease, and like, thank God, because 2 months later,
COVID hit right around then.
Yeah. And so we would have been like fully bankrupt. And
Yeah.
also, even if it would have went forward, like now knowing what I know, it would have been like minimum $7 million. Like
At least,
minimum.
yeah.
And so it's like so dumb, and would have been bankrupt. So another just lucky thing.
We've had a few friends make the jump from like Toronto to New York. And
Yeah.
Very
most-
specifically Toronto.
And most of them
Yeah.
haven't done so successfully. It
Yeah.
hasn't translated. Whereas what you guys did, I feel like has had an incredible amount of success here.
I think it's like one of the best brick and mortar launches of all time. And
Yeah.
considering the budget, like we haven't even spent
Right.
$1 on marketing. So
No,
it's like,
no. I mean,
Wait,
the approach,
really?
crazy, yeah.
The,
Oh, I didn't know that.
Go into a little bit more about like the approach you guys had pre-launch. I know you had permit issues and the way you used the space prior to launch. I think was
Yeah, so
unique.
even before that, like we were doing these underground breathwork concerts, and so we would do them in our garage.
Yeah.
And so we
Okay.
kind of built a lot of lore of like these breathwork concerts that may have been assisted in some ways. And so we just kind of
Yeah.
leave it at that.
Yeah.
Okay.
And so we're doing that for fun. We always like to create music and breathwork sessions, which then like that was just for fun, and we built an app.
Yeah, music is
during
a
this
big
time.
part of.
Yeah, it's huge. And so my partner Harry, like he picks like every song on every playlist. It has to
Wow.
be
Seriously?
like, yeah. So every
Wow.
playlist, like guides and people can nominate songs, but they have to be chosen. And there's like 9
He's like the
different
chief
playlists.
curator.
Yeah. And so it's just to ensure like the vibe is tight. The classes themselves, the music is pretty selected. There's no like leeway there to change because we just really want to create like a very uniform experience that when you come in, it's like an Othership class. We've seen people try to do this in Toronto. Business ended up failing, and they would just let anyone come on, do whatever you want. I think it just leads to like not a tight
Yeah,
experience.
you don't have like a self-selected community as much.
And it's way different in this experience because it's more like a performance. So you're not exercising,
said.
you're watching. And
Yeah.
so if like it's not top tier, you're going to be bored, you know?
Yeah.
And so, and then also not only that, you can't watch one performance over and over and over and over. So you need variety. And when you have variety, you also want to have uniformity and quality that people expect. And so it's very hard to have 28 guides all creating their own thing. And when you come in, you're trying to see multiple guides because if you just go to the same guide every time, it's the same class. It's
Especially
boring.
at scale when you're now multiple
What an
Exactly.
locations.
amazing
Exactly.
observation
Yeah.
to recognize that this almost had to become theater at a certain point.
Yep. I told the story today. There was a woman in Toronto, and she came down, and end of class, and she's just saying like, hey, I'm actually here. My son, I thought 6 months ago he was going to die.
Oh my God.
And we did this test that I could give him an organ, and there was a 1% chance that it would work. And I found out like 2 months ago that I'm a match. And I've actually come to Toronto, and I'm doing this Othership class, and I'm going to give him an organ after class. And so like everyone's crying, and it was just a moment where you feel like, wow, empathy for this person.
Oh my God.
Like I don't feel those feelings daily, or I'm not like attuned
Yeah.
to them. And so that's like a major example. It wasn't like when we started, but just the idea that you have a space to be seen and heard, and then facilitating those spaces, it's like very special. Another example that comes to mind is like, I was really struggling last year in the summertime. You know, like, could we even get open? We're out of money. Construction people are walking off the job. And I was crying in the street. And so
You're allowed to do that in New York.
That's
smoking
very
a vape all day, like 1 in every 3 breaths. Like every time I get super stressed, I like start vaping, and I'm like, fuck, not again. And so I'm in the street, and my wife's like, you are like a black cloud, like following us around, like me and my son, like, get your fucking shit together. And so I went out to California, did a psychedelic journey, which I'll do. Like I didn't do it since he was born. Mm-hmm. And I've had a path where I'm like, oh, these are amazing. Then I'm like, oh, they're not needed. It's too much.
How old is your son?
He's 2.5.
2.5, okay.
And so, you know, it was 2.5 years, and I started to kind of go crazy a bit. And she's like, you should go and like do something. So I went to LA, did an MDMA and psilocybin ceremony. Yeah. Came back, felt like ready. And I'm going out to get a coffee, and I come back, and this girl's like, Robbie, like, there's a problem. And I was like, what? So I come upstairs, and my wife is on the front porch with my son, fully passed out. Like,
what?
Like unconscious. She's pouring water on him, and he's naked because she's stripped him, and he's like turning blue. And I just totally froze. Like, I was like, is he dead? And so he had a seizure. He was dehydrated, and I guess this happens to infants, but like, we're new parents. We don't, we don't know anything about this. And so they called the police, an ambulance. Ambulance came on the street in Brooklyn.
Oh my God.
And they took him and like put a little baby mask on him. And I was like literally thinking like, is he gonna die? And super, like, I just froze. My wife was like total champion, and we went to the hospital with him, and he was like totally okay. So it wasn't like an issue, but the experience itself, like the level of feeling, when I think about the human experience, that like I can remember it so viscerally, and like the intensity of being alive. And so not that I'd wish a bad experience, and thank God like nothing happened, but it was just like I felt so deeply at that moment, in your body, like my like love, my fear. And so then I was just thinking about like, oh, imagine like going to war, what that is like, you know? And so just, I think it's very interesting to create spaces where there's like depth in emotion and feeling, pleasant or unpleasant.
Yeah.
I feel like when I was at Equinox, and even I had dinner with Scott, who's a mutual friend of ours last night at Mayo, talent and training is always probably the hardest thing to scale for a lot of these businesses. Yeah. Did you guys have advice from anybody on that?
Yeah, so I reached out to the head of talent at SoulCycle. We did some consulting with her.
Very smart.
She was helping. I reached out to the head of talent at Barry's, so, you know, sort of the best 2 boutique fitness places. So first we started with Come One, Come All. Then we moved to, we should hire people from fitness. And generally that's proven to be a mistake, fitness and yoga. Okay. Sometimes it works out, so it's a generalization, but a lot of people have these habits of how a fitness and yoga class should be.
How they speak, how they perform.
Exactly. And our language is not that. No. And so we're very much...
What bad habit, if you see it, or you like, you might not...
So like if you might say like, hey, let's all align on the 3rd chakra. Like, no, like our experience actually isn't really... Like if you have a meditation practice, great. Our experience is built for people that are stressed professionals that are living a normal life. That's like the average person can come in and not feel put off. And so to do that, they need to know that there's like science behind this, and it's been researched, and they need to, like, what we've chosen to dive deep into is emotion, because emotion's universal. So everyone knows like, hey, think about somebody you felt love to before, like that is universal per person. So we've really stuck to those elements as like kind of what makes our brand, but it's been very difficult with some guides that have very certain language. And also it's like, hey, you're a master in your craft. You've been teaching over 15 years. This is a whole new thing.
Right. Do you have formats of sentences or certain wording, or I just think anything that you're like, this is very much an Othership?
Yeah. So when you learn a new class, for example, like let's talk gratitude. So gratitude is a new class we dropped, and we look at dropping a new class like dropping an album or a single. And so legitimately it took like 200 hours to build that class. Oh my God. So Harry started with a gratitude podcast from Andrew Huberman. He then read every single paper referenced in that podcast. He then looked at the science of like how gratitude is actually built in the body. And so there's a number of different ways that's done, which we looped into exercises that would be in the class. Then it's like selecting the specific songs for that class, the specific oils that like go to each emotion. Then training the guides who then need to perform it, then auditing them a number of times, then getting feedback from them, because when you start, as with anything, like your first product is not good, you know? And so I think people don't realize, they get embarrassed, like, oh, it's not good, but like, of course it's not good.
It's the only way it
know?
gets better
exactly.
is to,
Exactly. So we have a like rigorous, we have director of guides, lead guides, mentor guides, 8 levels of guideship. So you start in, you're a navigator, you graduate to magic maker, graduate to alchemist, graduate to otherworldly, and that determines like, which class times you get, your pay, all this stuff.
Wow.
So that's all been built over time. Like when we started, we didn't have any of that. But so a guide will get this entire script, the playlist, they'll be memorizing the script as if it's acting, and then they'll practice it, and then they'll get to give feedback on like where they think it can improve. So like the level of detail put into this, like I just don't understand how you can, the only thing we're in the business of providing is experience. How can you outsource like the show you're providing? That's insane. It's like, imagine like you're directing a play and you're like, hey, I'm just going to hire someone else to direct the play. Like it doesn't make any sense. So I think we're like very much into excellence and detail, and then also creating culture that like the guides feel super empowered to perform and hold space.
Yeah.
And I think they really resonate with the idea of like using language that is based in parts work, psychotherapy, things, in terms like holding space, going into your emotions, feeling what's coming up, pleasant and unpleasant emotions, not judging them. Right. We also were very much, our guides are a mirror. And so we're very against coaching. And so, so like that's fitness, great. Traditionally 2010, like fitness is like, you got this, let's go, push it, get motivated. And like giving advice. And some people love that, but our particular brand is a mirror.
Asking questions.
It's like, it's just, hey,
Space for reflection.
Exactly. So it's like, I'm feeling very upset. This happened. It's not, oh, you should go home and journal for 5 minutes and then do this. It's just like, oh, it sounds like you're upset. Just reflective listening. So like that is a big skill. Because we feel someone might come in who's 22, someone might come in who's 77, someone might be going through a divorce. Like, who do you as the guide, like, you're not in a position to give advice most of the time. I think the best thing, I don't know that anyone is really qualified to give advice ever. So it's just very nice to like make someone feel heard, and like is what is most important.
Who would you say Othership is for and who it's not for?
Oh, that's a good one. Well, I think like it's a communal experience. And so if the thought of like looking a stranger in the eyes during a loving kindness class freaks you out, then like it might not be for you. But however, there are other classes that don't have that level of emotional. So we think of it like a triangle. There's like down classes, which are like body based. So deep stretch, embodied. You don't have to go emotional on those ones. Journey through the senses. There's up classes, which are more like a party. So like call and response, dance party, people singing, stuff like that. And they're more like akin to like a fitness energy, like really high energy. And there's all around classes, which are like our signature, but they're intense. So gratitude is one, loving kindness, acceptance, emotions A to Z. These are all classes where you're like potentially going into things that feel challenging in your life or in your past, feeling those emotions in your body. And those are like, people that do those classes really commit to the brand and like feel into the brand because they have the biggest experiences. If you're not into like feeling into your emotions and sharing, it might not be for you. So every class at the end, we have a share, which is like the most important part of the class. It's like there's no spaces to feel vulnerable. And so even if you just see 3 people share, it's like amazing. It can change my whole day to see people like be human. So I think some people though will be like, oh, share, I don't want to fucking go share, bro. And it's like, okay, well, it's not for you. Yeah. We've chosen very specifically to be a barefoot space.
Very specifically.
Yeah. So no spas are barefoot before us. I've never really seen one.
I never thought about that.
Yeah. And so we just found that and this is like anal, but the sound of the slippers on the floor, I hate it. And everyone just leaves their slippers everywhere. And so you don't know which ones are yours. And there's 100 pairs of slippers and makes the space look dirty.
Super messy.
But some people are like, that's disgusting. I'm not going barefoot. So it's like, okay, well, and we have brought in, we've created new cold plunge slippers that you can wear that are branded. We don't allow outside shoes, and like sometimes people will get upset. That's probably like the biggest complaint is that like it's barefoot, and so like okay, it's not for you. Yeah. It's also crowded, and so like what we offer, the highest quality materials like in the city for basically any build in terms of like price point, incredible hospitality and training, so our staff is like incredibly trained, and a very accessible price point. So for a spa like experience, if you're coming a lot at $45, there's like That's like the price of like 2 coffees in New York.
Yeah.
So,
And the price
however,
of a fitness class, and you're providing so much more.
Exactly, and
That's
it's 75
amazing.
minutes to 2 hours. So the
Yeah.
difference, though, is that where we give, like you can't offer all that. There's a give, is
Right.
that it's 75 minutes. There's only 2 features. It's just the best sauna and the best cold plunges.
Yep.
But so like there's no steam, there's no hot tub.
Right.
And then it's crowded. You know, if you
Yeah.
come to a busy class, there's a lot of people. And so you can get around that by coming during the day. But if you come on a weekend or evening, it's crowded. And so there's people who are like, I want a traditional spa. I want more features.
Great.
Good for you.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And there's people who are like, I want to spend more time. And so great. Good for you. And so we've just chosen to be the best at like these emotional classes. And like, I think it's important to be accessible because if you want to create brand fanatics, they have to come a lot.
Yeah.
Can you talk to me about where the name came from and then how that culminated in the
Yeah,
logo?
it's a fucking crazy story. So we initially had the backyard and we're like, okay, we're gonna have a website where people can like schedule. What do we call it? And so we're like, put a Google sheet together. And we're like, hey, come one, come all. Who's got the best name? And
Oh, wow.
Inward was the name that we chose.
Really?
And so we were
That
all
makes
like,
sense. Yeah.
we're like Inward, and we loved it, and we just loved it. And like every time you hear a podcast, someone would be like, I just was going through it, and I had to go inward. And you're like, oh,
we can
go
claim that.
inward!
We can claim that.
And so the person I work with, her name's Sarah Dobson. I think she's like one of the best in the world. She used to work for Pentagram.
Yep.
Absolutely.
And like naming
Sarah.
logo. You know Sarah?
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay. So I love Sarah. And like she's been a friend, and she was a friend of Harry and Amanda's before. And she spent like a year as a customer. And she's like, guys, you got to change the name. Like Inward is not like, it's like, it sounds like innards, and it also doesn't mean anything. Like you're going inward. Why?
It's not
And this is
ownable,
like
yeah.
a social space. And she does this hat test where like, does it look cool in a hat? Like, would you wear the hat? And it's like, no, it doesn't mean anything. And so we were so in love with everything that was around it and the space. And there's 5 of us, and we're like, we're never gonna, like, what are we? We're like a breathwork app. We're like the space. Like, how are we gonna name this thing? And so she came up with a bunch of naming treatments. And we're like going through them, and we see oh, it's so easy to say. It's not like you can own that. It's not, there's nothing, but it's like, it's memorable.
Yeah.
Then we sent it to like 10 people. Every single person, terrible idea. Just the text, like in a text, what do you think of this name? Every single one. So we're like, okay, we got to go back to the drawing board. So we kept looking again, other names, thinking about it. And like legit, Harry and Amanda, after we chose that, got on a call with friends on a Zoom, and they're like, hey, we have to just tell you, like, this is the biggest mistake you will ever make. Like,
That's
this name is
fascinating
fucking,
to me.
they were like, this name is terrible. Like, we can't get behind it. You guys can't do this. And then she's like, now, like, I can't believe. It's like my biggest regret in life that I said this to you guys.
What
like,
was
I can't
the
believe how
logic?
wrong it was. It just sounded weird. Like, it's so different because you guys now know it with the logo. And then how we got around to it was like, we were like, okay, well, at least it's so memorable that if you see it, you'll be like a lot of people are like, you're already doing this weird thing that like nobody knows what it is. Why do you have to be weird with the name too? And we're like, we were new. So we're like, oh, maybe these people are right. And it's hard with this stuff when you don't have your like intuition yet. So we're like, it's so hard to see something on paper and know if it's going to be good. The name also like it's everything around it. So went on the dark retreat, came back, and then we started to have this idea that everything we do is a journey. So we literally, our customers are called journeyers. Everything is named. Our managers are ship captains, cleaners are deckhands, the front desk are stewards. Like every single thing in our company is named. We have like our own language, which is like super important.
Which is incredibly important for cults too.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
So it's just, but I think any brands, like you want, like we got this, not like we made that up. We just saw like really good brands like talked about doing this, and so we did it as well, and like what I think is a cool way. So saw the name. People thought it was going to be weird, and we talked about it being a journey, and then it started coming up like, oh, journey, like, okay, what are you going on a journey? Like you go on a ship. And then it was like, oh, and like the space is a lot of wood. It's got these tiles, got a lot of water, kind of a ship vibe, and like feels pretty otherworldly in this space. Like it's like a whole other world we're creating. And then we started being like, ooh, okay. And then finally it clicked when someone was like, well, what is other anyways? And it was like, well, it's like relationship, partnership, mentorship, apprenticeship, allyship,
Othership.
all these different ships. And so other was like, oh, it represents them all. So it's like you're coming on the ship to journey together, but you're working on your own thing. And so you can be working on your relationship, but we're like doing it as a group. And then when that line came, we're like, fucking.
We got there. The strategy's under
Yeah,
it.
so then we were like fired up. And then we're like, fuck all these people. Like, let's go with this name.
I like how often you guys trust your gut and that conviction.
Yeah, I think like, look, it's when you're the user of the product.
Yeah.
It's also built for you.
Yeah, exactly.
To a T.
Well
exactly.
said.
When you guys,
Oh, wait, I want to know the mark.
Please.
The mark. So the mark she came up with, and it was some of the inspiration was like the dancing. Have you ever seen Fantasia?
Yeah.
Yeah, of
The
course.
dancing brooms.
Yeah.
They actually look like that.
Yeah.
And then so that was like in the initial like treatment of like
How
different
did that
inspiration.
get in there?
She just she picked like a whole bunch of different imagery, and so it was the first toy ever created in any, and it's part of all cultures, is the spinning top.
Yeah.
And so the idea was like wellness is play for us, and like why we do everything.
that's
It's not
awesome.
like counting steps or bullshit macros, which I like to and I'm into,
And that
but it's
exists,
like,
yeah.
hey, we're going to be fun. It's going to be hard work because it's nice, bath, and scary, but it's also fun. And so the idea was that like wellness can be fun. And it's a spinning top. It's in all cultures. And then it also looks like a ship.
It also looks
Yeah.
like a
So we're like,
spaceship.
we're
Yeah.
like fucking, this is like, there's so many things weaving together. And like Harry really liked it because it looks like a puddle. Like if you press in the middle, it's like the waves coming outwards. So that's how he thinks about it. This one is like meant to be the phases of the moon, starting from like quarter going through. And so, yeah, it was just like, it kind of encapsulated everything we're trying to do in like one word.
And at this
And,
point,
and a
you were
logo.
like, we're getting them all tattooed.
Yeah, we like I was gonna get more. Like my wife's like you want like how many of these do you want? And I was like, yeah, everywhere. Like just
Load me up.
so my partner has an amazing one. He got done from this artist here on his back. It's so cool. So it's been like probably 12 tattoos at this point, I think, and like 6 the co-founders and then like 6 customers.
What experience or what story do you have, I guess, the first time you saw one on a customer? Because I imagine that has to be unbelievable.
Yeah, it was pretty crazy. So super funny shit. So so I was the first one to get it, and I was like, yeah, like
That doesn't really shock me.
And then, like getting the tattoos was just my arm, and this is me.
Hey.
And then so all the co-founders did it together, and we all went like to a tattoo shop and like did it. They all did it in New York. Miles got his own on like his whole back, and then first customer was the person I'm officiating his wedding, and so it was like a big
Wow.
It was a big moment in his life that Othership stepped in for like his sobriety. And so he got it really awesome. Second one was a friend of ours, and he got it upside down. And so he actually did it the wrong way. So it's like, you know, it's not this way, like this side is shorter. And so he's like, he sent me the picture and he's like, yo, what do you think? And I was like, it's upside down.
In the mirror.
Yeah.
Right side up. Maybe if
but
he
for
takes enough
everyone who
pictures.
sees it, it's the wrong way. So that was pretty funny. Then there was a guy at Burning Man that Harry and Amanda were like saw with the tattoo, and they're like, "Hey, is that like an Othership tattoo? Like just at a random, like 4 a.m. playa thing? Like what's that tattoo?" And he's like, "Yeah, it's an Othership tattoo." And like, what do you mean? And he's like, "Oh, I just the breathwork app has like changed my life." And they're like, "Well, we're the creators." And like, guy lost his mind, and they were like, "What's the chances that they like met at the burn with 80,000 people?" So that was pretty epic. Then there's this guy. He's kind of like the Othership like spirit animal. So
Okay.
his name's Ron Bat. So he used to be a club promoter, and he does like, he'll go outside with like a straw and like go underwater and stay there for like 10 fucking minutes in like the middle of winter. He's done 1,400 ice baths in a row, 1,400 days. So he's like around Toronto, like, and we just honestly just gave him free passes for life to Othership.
You have to.
Because he's just the
When they're
ultimate.
mascot,
And
yeah,
he's been
of
coming, he
course.
comes to our garage, he's been coming to the spaces. I can show you, he got a full sleeve. And it's like, it has the word mark logo, has him like ascending out of his body. It's got like the words free flow on it and his favorite classes. And it's
I
like
remember
a
seeing you
full-
post this recently. It's incredible.
Crazy. So
Oh,
when
yeah,
I saw
after
that
I
one,
have to see it.
I was like, yo, my tattoo's shit. Firstly, I was like, this guy's is like,
Just
that's
got done up.
Yeah, like his is so good. And I was just like, it's so cool that like that has impacted him that much in his life that he like did that. And it's like a really sick tattoo also.
I'd love to hear your point of view if there was a book or anything like that that had the biggest influence on you for how you create culture, community, and business.
I think a lot of it is just I would go out a lot and like talk to people a lot, and so I love to party. I owned a nightclub. I would like even in Toronto when I was like doing a lot of drugs. My partner and I owned nightclubs. Always have been like super social. So just a lot of it was just like talking to a lot of people. It's just what I like. Like I can go and I'll talk to 500 people in a day and be like, fuck yeah, I got so excited. New York is the best market in the world. Like there's no question about it. It's the coolest. It's the most dense. It's the most affluent. The people are following their dreams. They're the most stressed. They're like looking for connection. They're outgoing.
Right.
It's just like the best place.
Yeah,
And
there's
so
a
to
lot
just
more room for you here.
I just would rather just continue to make our product amazing. And so we're doing things now. Like so here's how I also think about competition is like everyone else is a sauna and cold plunge. It is come for inflammation, come for recovery, come for longevity. There's about 15 of them that have the word house in the name.
Yep.
Basically every single one. And then there's us, which we don't even talk about that kind of stuff. And so for me, I want to be part of culture.
Yeah.
You know? And so what does that mean? So, you know,
What happened last week? Exactly.
Exactly. So
Yeah.
Blondish, you know, massive DJ puts on a 200-person party in our tea room. People are playing
I didn't know
bongos. People
this
are playing
either.
trombones.
Last week,
It's
yeah.
like a massive rave.
Oh my God.
And that's led to 2 other mega DJs that now we're talking to for the summer. And so
That's
we'll have
cool.
this running every month 2 times. And it's like an amazing way for
That's your marketing,
artists
man.
to connect with their customers in like a new way that's like sober nightlife. Then,
Whoa.
so that's one part of culture. Next part of culture, it's comedy. And so I was at the Comedy Cellar.
Whoa.
We were celebrating something, and there was like someone wasted beside me, and I couldn't really hear the comic. And I was like, everyone has to hear us to have 2 drinks. Like, I love comedy. Like, I go to Comedy Cellar. Like,
Yeah.
So they came in, and we tested it. We did an ice bath to start, 2 comics in the sauna, another ice bath, 2 comics in the sauna, and it like blew the house down. Like people going
Seriously?
crazy, like laughing so hard. Like the environment was actually perfect because the lighting is amazing, the smells are amazing.
Yeah,
You're getting
small
the
room.
You're very
dopamine from
comfortable, yeah.
the cold plunge. Everyone's laughing super hard. The comics feel comfortable. So that has now grown to where people with like Netflix specials that are famous comics are doing comedy shows at Othership. So there's one on Monday night, and the guy who was like Young Larry and
Yeah.
Yeah.
John, I forget his last name, but he was also on Saturday Night Live. So he's performing. And then we also just started last week music listening events. So we got someone from Tidal who's helping us out and bringing up and coming artists to like debut their songs from their albums, and they get to bring in their customers to do a live music listening experience. And this too. It's just like, how do you be part of culture? I think in like 12 months we'll have like famous DJs, famous comics, famous artists playing.
Wow.
And it won't last forever. Like people will copy or like it will run its course, but it's like an amazing way to just be different. And it's what we do is like connecting people. Like that's what our brand is about.
We have a lot of thoughts about like how much of our process do we share? We've spent probably the last year trying to like cultivate an ownable cult process. We trademarked cult as a service.
Yeah.
Like we've leaned into this a lot. We've skewed more on it's probably better to just be honest and share stuff and be the originators of it. I feel like so much of what you guys have built, I've seen more recently get like completely copied and duped.
Yeah.
Like one over in London recently.
Yeah.
That to me drives like a lot of frustration when things like that happen. How do you guys deal with it? Do you just kind of stay in your own lane and keep working? Are you like, fuck these people?
So yeah, I mean the first one that happened, I was like pretty upset.
Yeah.
And I was like, oh, what's this gonna mean? Is like our business gonna go? Are they gonna steal clients from us? Is it like, are we gonna be as good as them? And then their build was like they just didn't have the money. It wasn't like a serious operation. So I kind of went in and saw it, and like I was like fuming about it for like 3 months, like thinking about it. And I never really built something that people wanted before. Like it's my first time that I have something that's like people want to copy. So it's a new,
precious,
it's a new
yeah.
experience. And then it's also like feelings of scarcity. Like, is it still going to work? Are we going to make money?
Yeah.
Like it's not like we're out with like 100 units crushing it, and I'm like, oh, whatever. It's like still like, oh, I could lose my business. That's a fear that gets triggered, and I've been broke before, so I'm like, I'll fucking kill to not go back there.
Yeah.
So that first one, then I saw it and I was like, okay, this is like whatever. Didn't matter. Then one opened and 2 of our guides went there.
Oh.
And I felt pretty upset because the entrepreneur who hired them like never said anything, just kind of poached them. And that one failed 4 months in. And so, you know, it was kind of, they invited us in to buy them out. And it was like an interesting moment of just like, nope.
Yeah.
You guys
we've had friends in a similar situation.
Then, you know, another one opened. We don't have to name any names in London.
Nope.
And legitimately, like, some of the class names are the same, like, to the point of, like, you know, like, we invented the word free flow. It's not, like, a thing that people do. Like, we thought about it. We sat down. We said, we're going to call this free flow.
Language is so important.
It's part of our language. And then,
Yeah.
like, you know, it's also called a free flow. And it's like, okay, like, you know, so I just kind of texted and just said, hey, like, this is something we thought of. Mind, like, switching the name?
Yeah.
But I think, like, the anger, it's not really helpful. And it also puts you in a bad mood. And I just also like these things, like, it's really hard to do. There's a massive market. So part of me also, like, the reality is I think the more of these there are, like people need to be educated.
Yeah, I was going to say the more education
I think
others
that's
do,
the biggest problem,
and the more they spend in marketing on that, the more it helps you guys.
Exactly. So I think the reality is that it's not going to matter.
Can you explain the layout of the New York location specifically?
Yeah, so that one is our best layout yet, and something we discovered through that one was like the idea of the circle.
Yeah.
And so none of our other spaces are in that format. And so you come in and there's a circular tea room, which you find like the stadium seating was something that people have started emulating.
It's so great. It's brilliant.
And so we had seen that in the assemblage. I don't know if you guys remember that place.
Yep.
And just thought like, wow, if you're having a conversation, you want to optimize serendipity, you can talk to people behind you, below you. You can have like an 8-person conversation in that style.
And you have to climb over people. So
exactly,
it creates,
Exactly. And then when it's circular, and even like that fireplace is pretty spectacular. It's like an 18-foot glass fireplace. And we're actually removing it in future builds because it blocks the dance floor and it blocks sight lines. And so it is spectacular. The thing about the space is we call it like 3 moments of wow. So you come into the tea room and you're like, whoa, like this is crazy. There's like a fucking ring of Saturn.
Yeah.
James Turrell.
It feels like a UFO.
Halo that's like half UFO, but it's half to mimic a sunset because we felt like that lighting palette was best. Then you go into the sauna and it's another moment of wow. It's the largest sauna in the US. It's like, whoa, this is fucking crazy. Most people have never been in a sauna like that. Then you come around through this like little tiny corridor. You don't really know what's going to happen. It looks like the experience is ending. And then there's like this massive 20-foot ceilings, 18-foot of cedar, like a cathedral, and it's meant to feel like a cathedral in that space. It's a cold space. That's
totally
where
does.
and that's where the magic happens. Like the deepest part of the experience is the cold plunge.
Yeah.
So more silent, different volume of music, different sound attenuation. It's kind of when you come in there, it's like, oh, like let's be respectful. Like let's go deeper into the experience. And then it used to end where you would come out the same way, and now it ends where you roll back into the tea room. And so it's circular in that way as well. So you go through the experience many, many times and you can feel like you're always moving through the experience. So it always continues, even though you're in the same space over and over. And we found that flow is like really, it was kind of by luck also. It was that back door. We initially wanted them to not include it. And there's like a middle door. I don't know if you remember.
Yeah.
And a back door, and the middle door was going to be the main exit. And like the very first night, and we were like, don't include the back door. And we had to for fire code. And then that middle door, the very first class we did, we realized everyone who's coming in and everyone who's coming out is the same. And they all collided. And I watched it happen. I was like, we've just spent X amount, $1 million. And like, this isn't going to work. And I was like, I had a fucking full panic attack. And then we realized like that back door actually worked perfectly. And then we had like that learning. So that was
luck
really cool.
again. Yeah. So much luck.
Yeah, because if you fuck up one of these builds, you're just like, it's
devastating.
It's
Game over.
Yeah.
You started at the beginning going, we got to talk about the cave. Yeah. And I don't want you to lose your cave story.
Yeah.
So can you tell us about the cave?
Yeah, it's long. Like I used to work before we had my son. Like I would do like 20 calls back to back and just all day long. And I would just fucking hammer the vape and coffee and just go and like crank. Like weekends, all day I would just rip. Like that's it. And so my wife was like, okay, we're like, again, she always like, I get too far and she's like, without her, I'd be dead. But,
she pulls you back in.
Yeah. She's like, should like go and like do a retreat or something. So I booked this darkness retreat because like all these kooks, I'm like really on the fringes with like the kook world, and people who come into our space love this shit, especially the garage. I used to be like the newest stuff, the bed of nails or like the looping where you like drink your own urine. I didn't do that, but like whatever people are out there doing, I'm hearing about it.
Of course.
And so a lot of people were like, yo, the dark retreat. And I was like, oh, what is this thing? So I reached out to the guy. It's called Sky Cave. And he had lived in nature for like 2 years in solitude. So really was impressive person in terms of like just the way he carried himself. Mm-hmm. So I booked it. I showed up. I was so into Twitter. This is like I think COVID is on at this point. Yep. I was so addicted to Twitter that I was drinking coffee and I missed the flight at the gate not because I wasn't there, but just because I was on Twitter and I looked up and the flight was gone. And so I went into the dark retreat, like imagine you're driving a race car, just like 120 miles an hour, like right into the fucking wall, like no prep, just full on top speed, turbo, like boom. So you get there and it's in like the wood, like in the deep forest. And like you go and it's like a legit cave. And so it's like decorated and
Do
stuff.
they hijack all your stuff? Like you're handing over
hand over everything,
anything.
Hand over everything. And it's just like a little, like 2-door system was like a little window that you open and they put the food in at night. So it's all inside a
Seriously?
cave, and there's like a wall, and there's like this thing. So they put the food
You
in.
mean like
so
a jail cell?
Yeah,
Yeah.
like you're a prisoner.
Yeah. Well, you could leave at any time. So like it's not a prison.
Yeah.
But it's like I remember like I went in, I saw it, and it's like about the size of this kitchen, and there's just like a bed, a toilet, and a bathtub. And it's like, oh, the bathtub's fucking weird, but okay, that's an interesting choice. And I remember I kind of looked at the room, and then as soon as I turned out the lights, like it's like pitch black. Like, you can't even see your hand. You never adjust. And so I was like, oh shit, I don't know where anything is. And so I'd have to like go down on the ground and like be feeling around to like find stuff. And the first 2 days I just slept. So you get really, really tired, and there's no light, there's nothing to stimulate like your circadian rhythm. So I just ended up sleeping for probably 40 hours. And I was kind of afraid at first. I was like, I don't like the darkness. And it's like, you wake up, first thing you do, you open your eyes, and you're like, you're safe. And so in this case, you open your eyes and it's just pitch black. And so you can't see where you are.
Am I blind?
Start to
What's
feel
going
like
on?
really like things are closing in. And so I'd have to start to have panic attacks. I have to like breathe really slowly to kind of calm down. And I was like afraid. Like, I'm like, okay, if I'm going to get out, something's going to grab me. And even though, there's no one there, it's just like subconscious, like a lack of safety.
I didn't realize how isolated it was.
It was really hard. Like the first, and then like also about like 3-4 days in, you can't really sleep anymore. And so from day 5 to 8 was just up straight. And so like I've done meditation retreats of 10 hours, and those are grueling. And that's only, there's still another 14 hours in the day. And so I would meditate a bit, and then I got sick, and I was like, oh, I got the new COVID variant. I'm going to die. I'm going to die up here. And I'm alone. But then I had said in my email signature, like I was doing a 10-day dark retreat, and I was like, there's no fucking way I'm leaving. And like saying I only did 3 days, like just ego of like, I have to do it.
I put it out in the world.
I got to push through it.
Yeah.
So then I realized I wasn't sick. There was like some mold in the cave, and every time I would sit on this meditation cushion, it would like, it was like dust. It would like come into my face. And so I was coughing. And so then I stopped doing that. And then like about day 5, like some like pretty powerful insights, just a lot of thought of death, a lot of thought of like my parents are getting older, they're going to die, a lot of like realizing that like I just think the same things over and over and over in these same patterns, and they're not really related to anything because there's just no stimulation. You realize like emotions just kind of come and go. The bath itself was like the highlight, and I realized like why the bath is there. It's like the only thing to look forward to. So I just take 2-hour baths every day. And this is like that's all there is to do is like sit, and it was kind of cold, so it would be like this nice warm bath. But then like I remember coming out at day 8, I was like, okay, I'm done. And like it's not you hear it's a psychedelic experience. It's not. It's just like a very deep meditative, like ultra complicated, difficult thing. And so I remember coming out and just seeing like everything was vibrating. Like I felt like I could see like the molecules in the air, like just vibrating. I was like, what is happening? And so I remember like it's still dark when I came out in the morning. I remember just like smelling the ground and like feeling it on my face and like feeling like the open air, and then the sun started to come up, and you see color. It's like a reflection of light, and so you kind of like notice that there's just like kind of browns sort of, and I'm like seeing things and just waiting to see like color. And like when the sun breached the sky and seeing the first blue was like pow, like in my eyes. Like it felt like I was transported back to this experience where I was skiing as a kid with my dad, and he was like, I was just on the mountain like seeing the sun like so vividly. And then in that first like hour, I swam in a cold stream there. They had a sauna. I ate breakfast, which I could see, and it was like the best 3 hours. Like so, it was just like, oh my god, life is so amazing.
You died. I mean, you essentially died and came back to life.
So it was really awesome, and like just great. It's like when you have restriction with things, it just like improves. Like right now, I was hitting the vape again today. Started after 6 months. I had like 2 coffees. I'm like so stimulated. I'm like looking at my phone all day. And so when you go and do something like this, it just makes you able to more easily enjoy. Like I know you do this stuff with your sailing, and like it's the same.
Yeah, race boats across oceans with like
there's nothing
days of pain and suffering.
Yeah, and then you feel like, wow, life is so good.
Oh yeah, like the littlest things.
Yeah.
And then you get back to the city and you're just like hyper stimulated on all the time, just like numb and burnt out.
So I think that like 2 days just to go and sleep for someone is like really nice. And you can get a lot of the effect without like doing the whole thing. You could just do like a 2-day sleep, and it would be like with no phone. It'd be like really, really nice. I think that's actually a really good business. It's like a 2-year wait list now for this place.
Wow.
Yeah. Damn, dude.
Finish the sentence for me. At the end of all this, I am not, just the founder of this amazing thing I've built. I'm also what?
Oh man, it's such a big part of my identity now. It's like feels like everything. Like I feel like I could, like I was just thinking, like if someone came and offered me like $500 million to this business, I just say no. Like what am I gonna do? Like I would just try to build this.
Who are you outside of it?
Yeah, so I don't know. I dad probably. I think the one thing like that never, like my relationship with my wife is the most important thing to me. So she, like I was just kind of a scumbag before and pretty like not in integrity when I was partying a lot, and so she was the first person that I really like treated with like my whole heart and like gave up everything for. And so I was like, oh, if I'm like really good for this person, what does it like say about me? And so I treated the relationship on like such, it's like so sacred to me, and I just think our relationship is so strong. It's like what I'm most proud of. And so I think then without this, then that's what comes up is like, you know, husband, a dad. So how I want to show up with my son, those two things come up. And then like something I like really, my mom, I grew up like she didn't work when I was growing up, and we were like tumultuous at times, and I did this Hoffman process and then found out a lot of the superpowers I have are actually from her, and I'd never given her any credit. So that feeling to me is like who I am is just this like, you know, I was at World Spa on Monday and I was just thinking of how many of these cool treatments we could like put in our bathhouse, and just like I can get excited so easily, and it's like feels like a battery that's just like gonna explode. And it's like such a compelling feeling. So that feeling is like who I feel like I am underneath.
Yeah, the battery. That's amazing. Do you have anything else you want to talk? I mean, we literally covered everything. But if there's anything you're like, I didn't get to talk about this thing.
No, that was long. That was
That
awesome.
was so long. Thank you. That was phenomenal.
Yeah, awesome.